So welcome to The Point. I'm so excited to have you on and have us take a little bit of time today. I have to say that this is the first and I'm hoping the only point that we do via Zoom. So
Yeah.
virtually, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Katie.
One thing that I wanted to ask, as one of the co-founders and CEO of GSD&M, you're in your own right an iconic brand. And now that you've stepped away from the day-to-day, tell me what's fueling your passion these days.
Don't tell anybody, but now that I actually send myself an email every morning at 4 a.m, and it says, "I wonder what the world has in store for me today. I think I'll go find out." All my life, I was taught, don't wait for the world to come to you. Go out there. It's going to come anyway. Good, bad, indifferent. Go out there and meet it. And so I've always believed for a long time marketing could be a force for good. And I did the Don't Mess with Texas campaign with my partner, Tim McClure, and we changed the culture of Texas from a littering state to a non-littering state. And we started thinking about that, and we sort of started thinking about purpose. This was 1984, and we kind of went from litter to pride. Don't mess with Texas. We didn't know that. And yet we reduced litter by that over 70% using marketing as a force for good. So all my life in the advertising business, I've always deeply believed that. When Harvey hit and Irma hit, I get a call from President Clinton, and he said all the former presidents want to do something to help the folks from Houston and Florida, and you're the only marketing person all of us trust. So I got President Obama, the Bushes, Carter, Clinton. The next day, we filmed them 5 former presidents in one 30-second spot. And we raised $60 million in one day. So I believe my passion is using marketing as a force for good.
I think our philosophies, and I know we've talked about this a few times, are very much in alignment, where as an agency too, we believe in working with clients and working on projects that truly have consequence in the communities that we serve. And it's a very deep belief that we have. And, I think we could talk.
We are partners in purpose on that, sister. We really are.
Absolutely. Well, and that's ironically kind of the reason how we got to know each other during this time of COVID, was when we got to spend a little bit more time together talking. And I know you and Matthew McConaughey are really close, and you two went in together to produce a piece about fighting the virus and how important it was to stay at home. Why did you feel like you needed to step up and to spread that message?
Well, again, Matthew and I have done a lot of work together in the past. And again, he believes marketing as a force for good too. And so we just believe that all of this us versus them that's going on, even before the virus hit, we need to be a country of us again, USA. If we only get to hear what they all want us to hear, the news, the politics, we need to use marketing to meet you in the middle. We need to bring people who can think and love and care. We might differ on politics, but we care about each other, and that's not kumbaya stuff. So we produced 3 or 4 PSAs, one called The War on the Virus. It says, and then the other one we did was all these, Anthem Lights is a band that sings all of these American great songs, and we did a spot, and at the end it said, "This thing is not about politics. It's about us." And so we just continue to believe that marketing has to be done as a force for good.
I would agree completely. So let's shift to something that's happening right now with our Black Lives Matter movement. And I just wanted to get your thoughts because it's been much discussion amongst us here. I look out there and I see brands that are really authentically on the forefront of this and have really taken a strong position. I've also seen the brands that are really taking a more listen and learn approach. And then I think we've all seen the brands that have just fumbled horribly. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you see happening out there from a communications and storytelling perspective.
Yeah, it's obviously we're all living through this, and I think in the end it's going to be good for America. I really think that we're going to start listening to each other again, and we're going to ask ourselves, what can I do better? What can I do better? I think brands need to say, what can I do better? And I think they need to celebrate their employees and celebrate what they're doing. And I tell people, a lot of brands, you may not can change the world, but you can change your world.
Right.
And be a better you, be a better us. Let's change and improve our world. And in the process, brands, you will change collectively the world. So I've always said, look inside first.
So what do you think the next leaders of tomorroh are going to look like? Who have
I think they have to be driven by purpose, not politics. And I think that, and I believe that for a long time, that if you really understand the difference between common ground and higher ground, common ground, oh, let's shake hands over the aisles and whatever, it's not working. It hasn't worked for a long time. We have to have leaders who say, why don't we get on the front porch and talk about this stuff? Why don't we look at the higher ground of America, not the common ground? And so I think at some point, and I know the leaders in your city and all of us are now trying to, with all these things going on, we got to get on the front porch again. That great Tracy Lawrence song, if the world had a front porch like we had back then, we'd have our problems, but we'd still be friends. And we need to have front porch conversations again. We're building a front porch in Austin, Texas, by the way. America's new front porch right now.
I love it. I've seen it. I've seen the pictures. And your plan is to take that around the country. Am I correct?
Yeah, and then we're going to have a permanent one right next to the convention center. The convention center is restoring a home built in 1875. It's almost all done with the front porch. And they're restoring it. They're giving it to me, not giving it, I have it. And we're going to start having teachers bring their classes and have classes on the front porch. And we're going to have city council meetings on the front porch once we can have them again. So part of the whole what's next, I think marketing needs to be more than advertising. I think marketing agencies need to be creating new ways to communicate, new problems to solve. That's what I've always believed. Advertising was just a side thing for me. I was trying to figure out what's the problem we're trying to solve.
I agree completely. It's so in alignment with one of our pillars, which is being entrepreneurial. It's not about advertising, it's about solving problems. And sometimes those problems have absolutely nothing to do with an advertising message. It's, to your point, getting in front of someone, bringing people together, and solving the challenges that keep them from joining together. Also, kudos to Austin for the investment. You and I talked about this earlier, the investment that you're making in transit and infrastructure. That's a bold move, especially in a time like this. And that's a city that's investing in itself and investing in its future.
Yeah. Well, Austin is my home, and we ain't perfect at all. And I think partly what we're trying to do maybe is that Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great and Built to Last, great friend of mine, he talked about the genius of the A&D. So many times in politics, it's about or. You do this or you do that. He kept saying, no, you do this and you do that.
Right.
He said, the great ones are going to be the cities that stimulate progress, but also preserve their core. What is the core purpose? What are the core values? I think we have to have leaders who understand the genius of the and. We can do this and that. I'm not talking about dollars. I'm talking about concept. We have to do childcare and transportation. Now let's figure this out.
I am in complete and total violent agreement with that. We can. It's got to be about and. We can take care of our future and our future generations, but we can't leave our core folks behind. Well, I think you've given all of us a lot to think about, and I'm hoping that we can do a second round. I just want to tell you, as a agency owner and marketer, you've set the bar so high. You're an inspiration to us, to so many others, because the ideas that you bring to the table and the passion that's behind it and the purpose that's behind it are so critical to coming together as a country, coming together as a community. And to your point, it's not about advertising. It's about storytelling and problem solving. And you're one of the best.
You ain't bad either. I mean, that's been a real treat. And we were supposed to do some big things together. We will too.
We will.
And thank you, San Antonio, for being a part of my life. Even when I got more tickets in Selma than I could. The last ticket I got, I was on the way to defensive driving class. But anyway, that's a whole other story. All right. God bless everybody. Godspeed.
God bless. Thank you again for your time.